really excited to get the season started. Obviously, really thankful to have a great opponent like Cal for that first game. Obviously, have a lot of close relationships to a lot of people over there. Feel really good about where the team's at mentally. Thought we had a really good camp. Stayed healthy for the most part. We know we got a real daunting task every week, but just wanted to remind our guys the last few days that at the end of the day, it's really not about who we play. It's just about us and how well we play. And so we're just going to try to detach from results and just focus on that every week, and let's see how well we can play, and hopefully we play well enough to have some wins. I'm really excited for Miles. The first thing I would say is I'm just really proud of Miles. Recruiting him and not being able to coach him was one of the real regrets of having to leave Davis. He's been through some great moments, and he's been through some tough moments. You know, he's been up and down a little bit. I think there was a part of him that was maybe a little worn out emotionally when I took the job. I think he's really attacked winter ball, spring, and fall camp with a real good enthusiasm. I think he's got a real good understanding of what we're trying to do offensively. He's been really accurate in camp, distributing the ball well. I expect Miles to have a great season and to play really well, and I'm really hopeful that he can walk out of Davis with his head held high for what he's delivered. I think what probably goes unknown is he'll be the second three-time captain in the history of the school. So Lonzo Gilliam was the first, Miles is the second. That's voted on by his teammates, and even as a staff, we looked at that like, man, that's a really big honor. I hope the players understand what they're doing. And so we talked to a couple of the leaders like, hey, are you okay with this? Like, this means a lot. And they're like, absolutely. Like, that's our leader. So I think that says a lot about Miles for what he's been through. And so I'm excited for him. I think he's going to play well this year. We just got to keep him healthy. And obviously he knows I'm going to coach him really hard. So it's probably good that Coach Shelton's there and I can be more of the bad cop and Coach Shelton can be the good cop. But I'm excited for Miles. We didn't really have a set number. We were kind of just going to let the team speak to us. And so they voted on 4. Really, there were 4 guys that got the bulk of the votes. We felt like the votes were close enough where they all 4 deserved to have the honor. So Lan Larison, Rex Connors, Princeton Toki, Miles Hastings.
Are those season-long captains or just for the first?
Those are season-long captains. Those are the 4 that'll have the C on their jersey. And then every week we'll have a 5th honorary captain, sometimes based on maybe where we're playing or a guy that's had a good run. Maybe we want to be able to have guys do it week to week, but those 4 will be the guys for the season. Honestly, just full transparency, I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm going to learn this year just that you have to learn maybe the hard way. You're not going to be able to know it until you do it. I've been lucky enough to be around some really good ones, and so I've tried to take a part of all of them and try to figure out the best way to make it fit me. But I do think it's important to be authentic as a coach and be yourself. So, I think the hardest part might be, when you're an offensive coordinator, you're really just coaching football. You're just trying to score points and you're kind of one-track minded. I think when you're in the head coach seat, you're trying to look at it more from a global view. What's best for the team? How do we win this game? And so that's been fun, but it's definitely been different. I've tried to spend more, even earlier last week, spend more time down the defensive side just to be. I've never been on the defensive side of a field for practice, so it's been cool for me to just be down there and listen and see how they do things and try to give my 2 cents where I can, and then obviously be more involved in special teams. And the one thing I do know is what it takes to win football games, and so we're just going to try and give our guys the best opportunity to win the game by putting them in a really successful place, and then they got to obviously go make the plays. Yeah, I think there's no secret. The players definitely make fun of me for it. I'm not embarrassed to be moved to tears sometimes. This place does that to me, so I'm sure I'll be emotional. And being able to be the head coach at a place I've always wanted to be at, and then going against Cal, a place I really really respect and really loved my time there. So there'll be moments I think where I think back to Coach Soker or to Bob or Lou or Mike Morosky and all the guys that have helped me. Every time we were able to show the Jim Soker documentary the other day to the team, I got emotional watching that. Just hearing those guys talk about Aggie Pride and what it means to them, and I feel like I'm a small part of that, and I do feel a lot of responsibility to have success here because it means a lot to me, and I wanted the team to know that I hope they understand how important it is to me, why this place is special, and hopefully they play with that type of emotion when they play on Saturday. It's always good at the end of camp to just have a new opponent, right? Like you're just kind of tired of going against each other for 30 days. So definitely today was kind of the first day where we really sat down. All right, this is how we're going to try and win the game. This is who we're playing. So they're definitely excited to have a new opponent and to get ready for a game and to really be a team now, right? I mean, we're competitive at practice. So in practices and camp, you're trying to beat each other, which is good. And now you get to really come together and put all three phases and see if you can play really well. So I think they're looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean, I think just for everyone to be realistic about everything. I mean, we know what these games are, right? I mean, Cal is paying us to come play this game, and this is a situation where a Power 4 team is scheduled an FCS opponent, and so yeah, the task can be looked at as pretty daunting. I just think it's more important to focus on how well we play and try to keep the opponent nameless and faceless and focus more on us. I've coached in a lot of these games. I've played in these games, right? So I was on the team that beat Stanford. I coached on the team that beat San Jose State, but I was also on the teams that got throttled by a couple of these games, So we were just laughing earlier as an offensive staff. In the modern times against Cal, no one's ever scored more than, I think, 14 points. So, hey, let's see if we can get 15 points. Let's see if we can put together a better game than we've had in the past, and then see what that gets us. So I think we're looking forward to the challenge, but every week it's just more about us trying to play well, and hopefully that's enough to win the game. I think it will be really strange. That really was a sad moment. I remember Coach Wilcox, getting pretty emotional about it, just being a Pac-12 guy, and for me growing up in California, I mean, just watching Pac-12 football, it's tough. Cal did what they had to do to survive, really, right? And so I think that part's going to be cool to see some new opponents, but yeah, not to get in a long discussion about that, but I feel more terrible for the other sports, the baseball teams and the basketball teams, and that they got to travel out there and do all that. It just, I'm not sure it makes sense. I don't have all the answers, but yeah, it will be weird. But at least they get to play Stanford still, and it'll be fun to see them play some new opponents for sure. Yeah, that was a big focus for me in the offseason, was to try to get around some head coaches that I really admired from afar, and just to see if I could pick something up and see if I had some connections at some places. So yeah, we visited the Niners and the Ravens and the Chargers and the Rams. But yeah, that on the podcast, what I was speaking to was that just stuck out. It stuck out to me, spending a day with them, that he had that much respect from his team, and B, that much knowledge of what was happening, that he could coach all 22. I walked out of that in awe, and like I said, I don't, there's guys like Pep Guardiola and Greg Popovich and great coaches out there, but if there's a better coach in any sport right now than him, I'd love to see it. I think he's pretty special. So I learned a lot from that. Definitely, I think what I've tried to do with the team, especially from a defensive standpoint, is help them from an offensive perspective and coach up those guys as much as I can during the week on what they're doing and how an offense could take advantage of it and what makes it difficult for an offense. And it's been fun doing that with the defensive staff. That's been some of my most enjoyable moments probably as a head coach so far, is sitting in with the defensive staff and just talking football and hearing Matt Coombs do his thing and trying to help where I can. That's been fun. I mean, talk about getting emotional, that'll probably get me there. He's he's a family member in my mind. Just when you're coaching, you're going to go through some low moments. My time at Boise is real regrettable. Didn't feel like I did it as well as I could have done for a lot of reasons. And so when you get fired publicly like that in the middle of a season, you can really go to some dark places as a coach. Within 24 hours, I was getting phone calls from people that are part of that tree of guys that I've always looked up to, that are, Jonathan Smith. Within one day, hey, come on out to Oregon State, come on out here and spend a week with us. Justin Wilcox, hey, come out here and spend a week with us. And they wouldn't take no for an answer. They didn't want me to feel like I was going to be negative or think any less of myself. And so I owe Justin a lot for just having faith in me, having some belief in me, and pumping some more enthusiasm back in. And, I think we all need that sometimes. There's not a coach I respect more in college football than Justin Wilcox. I think he's a tremendous head coach. I think Cal is extremely lucky to have him, and they should be doing everything they can to keep him. I just think he's a tremendous leader. What he's been able to do with that program with some of the issues that Cal has is pretty remarkable. And the season we had last year was I know not up to anyone's standard, being 6-6, but to get that team to a bowl game and to see the joy on his face when we were in the Rose Bowl, it's probably one of the memories I'll always remember in coaching. So I told him when I left that we all are part of different coaching trees, obviously, but I hope that I get to be known as a Wilcox guy. I hope that when he has his tree, I hope I get to be a part of it. I would love for someone to, put me in the same breath as Justin. Yeah, tremendous player, electric speed, catches the ball out of the backfield really well, makes the first guy miss. He's a problem on special teams if they put him in the return game. Everything we can possibly do to try to limit him will be the goal, and I still think that'll probably be difficult because he's that talented. So he's a great kid, great young man. I'm really, really proud of him, happy for him, and hopefully we can do our best to slow him down. I think the difference for maybe FCS is that we have the playoff system, which even though that they have the college football playoff now, it's still a little bit different in the amount of teams. So the positive is if you play those guys in the playoffs, it doesn't count as a game, So yeah, I think preferably you'd like to save the games for later in the year if you could. That way, if as injuries stack up as the year goes, and those guys hopefully are getting better, right? Like a true freshman in December is probably a better player than the true freshman is in August, So hopefully you can wait to have to use them, and then maybe later in the year they might even have climbed up the depth chart even more than you think, and so now you play them in the 4 games, and now if you play them in the playoffs, you're not burning the extra game, and they can still redshirt. So some of those guys for sure that might not even be on the 2-deep list right now are guys that we think could play down the road. Yeah, I wish we had it. FCS is not using the helmet to headset communication this year. I think it's more of a financial thing, which is a bummer. I think that would give us a huge advantage, obviously, to be able to talk to the quarterback. We got to use it in the bowl game at Cal last year. That was pretty fun. So I know Cal will have it this week, and we won't. So that gives them a huge advantage. But a lot of teams are going through the same issue playing against FBS opponents. So we do get to use the iPads for images on the sidelines, which is a really cool new addition. And we've practiced that in camp. So I think that'll be fun for us to be able to use.